folks. I just wanted to give you a real quick recap of how I caught all my fish last week at Douglas Lake. I'm going to walk you through some of the equipment that I used that I really believed was key in getting me a couple extra bites during that event. So Douglas Lake, fishing in the fall time, anytime you're fishing anywhere in the fall time, you're almost guaranteed to have really tough fishing. And to be totally honest with you, I wasn't really excited about getting to Douglas Lake. I honestly wasn't. I wish I could be that guy that could tell you I was just really turned about this event and was excited to get there and ready to go. It just wasn't the case this time. I knew it was going to be tough, and I've kind of had I've had enough tough events this year. I wanted to go somewhere where the fishing was really going to be good, and I knew Douglas wasn't going to be that way. But nevertheless, you just got to deal with whatever the lake throws you in a situation like this. And practice was not good. I didn't catch a lot of fish during practice. I only caught 1 or 2 fish a day, sometimes 3 fish a day, I think was my best day of practice. And I didn't have anything that I really felt great about going into the event. I couldn't get enough bites during practice to really decide if I wanted to spend my time shallow or deep. And I just know that I'm a better shallow water fisherman than I am deep fisherman. And I pretty much committed that I was going to spend at least day 1 trying to figure out how to get bit shallow. And I finally got the clue that I was looking for all week about 11 o'clock on the first day of the tournament. And from then on, I spent all of my time just trying to build on that. And I went old school, folks. And that really upset me after I started thinking about this tournament afterwards. Most of the time when I've done well in events, I've always fished old school baits, old school ways. It's usually none of the really fancy stuff that you hear about and see about in the stores and TV shows and everything. It's always something very simple, dumbed down fishing. Not necessarily dumbed down fishing, but very simple ways to catch them. And there's a lot of shad, like it always is in every reservoir. There's a lot of shad popping the surface this time of the year. A lot of things going on that's transitioning to that fall pattern, but we haven't quite got there. It's still the summertime deal, but everything's starting to transition into that fall pattern. A lot of times in the fall, the transition isn't nearly as drastic as it is in the spring. And I ended up catching all my fish on a spinnerbait. Old school spinnerbait. I had 2 that I was fishing. I'll show both of them to you. These are the 2 spinnerbaits that I used right here. I used both of these. My friend, I'll leave all the equipment that I'm going to use. You can find it in the description box. This is just a double Colorado. If you look on Bassmaster.com up the gallery, these are exact spinnerbaits that I fished during that event. 1/2 ounce double Colorado spinnerbait. The other is a tandem willow. And on the tandem willow, I was just attaching a little bit of plastic just to keep that bait a little buoyant. I was fishing both of these baits very shallow, to the point where a lot of fish that I was catching, you couldn't really reach them by boat, a few of the ones that I caught. And the purpose of me adding that, this is a Z-Man 3-inch minnows that I was adding to the back of my spinnerbait here. And the reason I was doing that is I wanted to get that really finesse, flow, and thump and vibration of the willow leaf spinnerbait, but I wanted to throw it really shallow. And as you know, a willow leaf spinnerbait tends to sink down a little faster in the water column. Well, you can kind of bulk up the bait with this, a little bit bigger skirt, give it a little bit more bulk by adding some plastic on it, and that'll let you slow that bait down and keep it a little higher in the water column. Of course, Z-Man plastic is buoyant as well, so that also makes the bait a little bit more buoyant, and you can keep it up a little higher in the water column. First 2 days, I caught them very shallow doing that. Actually, on the second day, they were starting to back off in some of the deeper rocks and some of the deeper flats. But I caught a lot as well on the double Colorado. Some of the water was very stained, close to muddy. And I was using the double Colorado as well. Or if I fished around a blowdown, I would use the double Colorado. I could really slow it down around those laydowns and not get hung. A double Colorado won't hang as bad. One thing that I did that I never do this, and for this time I'm so glad I did, is I was using a trailer hook. And that was definitely key in a couple fish catches that I had. Even though I was fishing shallow, they pulled the lake down on Douglas about 30 foot every year, maybe 50 foot. And a lot of the banks are just mud. There's nothing on them. And so I was able to use a trailer hook and not have to worry about getting hung up. But a couple of the fish that I caught were hooked on that trailer hook, and that definitely saved me in this event because I didn't get a lot of bites. So that was the baits I was using. The first 2 days I caught them all on this, double Colorado and a tandem willow, every single one of them. And I caught about a dozen a day on the first 2 days. One piece of equipment that really I feel like contributed to a lot of my bites is I was using a favorite Big Sexy. And you know, it's a fitting name, right? There's nothing about me big, and there's nothing about me, very little about me sexy. But that's okay. That's what I was using, is a Big Sexy. This is one very nice rod, very affordable rod. But this rod has it's a 7 foot medium heavy, has a pretty soft forgiving tip. All favorite rods come with a rod sock, which is always an added benefit. But the very soft tip, and these fish weren't always biting very aggressively. A lot of times you would just be rolling that spinnerbait and you would just feel it just stop thumping. And that was the fish biting. So if you had a rod that was just super stiff and you could really feel it when that blade would stop, you'd probably jerk too early and miss a lot of fish. But the fact that this tip was a little bit softer and that deadens some of your sensitivity on your bait, that helps you, lets that fish get that bait a little bit better. I was using a very slow reel. This is a 5:3 to 1 gear ratio reel. And folks, I can't tell you, I've learned this the hard way. Slowing down on a lot of your baits is going to help you get bites. I was slowing that bait down in very shallow water. That helps you worm that bait through structure a lot better. You're gonna be able to bring it through a lay down a little bit better. One thing that you're gonna do with the sprinter bait, if that sprinter bait turns over, when you're bringing it over a log or a lay down, if it turns over, ricochets, it's going to get hung up. But if you just slowly just bring it over, it's just going to brush over that piece of wood and you'll never hang up. And having a slower reel is going to help you with that. So a lot of times you think you're going to slow down. Fast reels are what's driving the reel market right now. Everybody wants the fastest reel, and that's great for certain situations. But for fishing a sprinter bait, when those fish really don't want to bite, or any kind of moving bait, sometimes when they don't want to bite, when you slow that bait down, it really just rolls over that structure just perfectly. It will not ricochet, it will not just turn over and hang up on you. And I could bring my bait through a lot of structure that I feel like a lot of guys are fishing a lot faster and not getting the bites, because you really had to be deliberate about every cast that you made. So the 7 foot Big Sexy has a nice short handle length that allowed me to be very accurate, a little bit softer tip, desensitize my bait, so I could really just let those fish grab that bait without me reacting too quickly. 20-pound test Tatsu. This is the best line you can lose. 20-pound test Tatsu is what I use on my reel, and that's just a good line for when you're wanting to make a long cast, a very accurate cast. It's going to exit the reel nice and smoothly and let you be a little bit more accurate, which is very important a lot of times, and it'll get you a lot of bites. In this situation, I wasn't really concerned about the fish being line shy. I was more concerned about being very accurate with my cast and not getting backlash by making long casts when I had to. So that 20-pound Tatsu just did the trick. It was nice, smooth. Sprinter bait has a tendency to kind of twirl in the air. You get a lot of line twists. But Tatsu is so supple, those line twists aren't as bad, so that was just the right, perfect setup for me. So this rod and reel setup was a big deal for me this week. I feel like being able to slow down and desensitizing the bait was a big deal in converting a lot of those strikes to actual fish catches for sure. You know, one thing that was definitely a big asset this week, which is not giving up. I didn't have a good practice, and I got just that one clue that really pushed me along for the next 3 days. On day 3, the fish really stopped biting my spinner bait. The shad started to pull away from the structure. They were kind of out in the middle of the cuts and pockets that I was fishing. So I had to switch my tactics a little bit, and I had to catch him. I had to even go more old school and catch him on an old Texas rig, a 3/16 ounce bullet sinker and a 5/0 owner hook and just a big 10-inch worm, and just fish out a little deeper in that 6, 7, 8 foot range, where the first 2 days everything was in 3 foot or less. So just making that switch was definitely key to moving up a couple places and catching my limit. I think I would have zeroed if I would have stuck with the spinnerbait the last 2 days. I'll leave the description for the hook and the line and the sinkers that I was using as well. But that's what I used on day 3, and it was really, really key in me being able to move up a couple places for sure. So that's how I caught all my fish. It was a great tournament. It was a great week. I'm so glad things worked out the way that they did. Ended up at 3rd place. Missed qualifying for the Classic by a little bit. Good thing Ott ran away with it. They had a really good tournament. He won by almost 10 pounds. So that gave me a little bit of consolation. I never had the fish on to make up the 10 pounds or anything. I don't think I lost a fish all week, honestly. So it was a good week of fishing. Fish clean. I found fish, went back and caught them, and that's really all you can ask for. So I'm excited about going into the next season. I finished 13th overall in the points and missed qualifying for the Elite Series by 19 points. I had one bad day at Oneida that really, really cost me. Day 1 of Oneida, the first event this year, really cost me possibly qualifying for the Elites. But that's okay. The biggest thing that I wanted to do in these 3 tournaments was have a chance to make the Bassmaster Classic on my home lake, and we almost attained that goal. So just take that momentum, remember all the positive things that happened this week, and just make them carry on to the next few events. So that's the equipment I used in my tournament there at Douglas. I appreciate all you guys' support. Look in the description box, check out all the equipment that I mentioned in this video, and make sure you stay tuned for more videos from me.